that somehow.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, it is time for me to keep moving on. And one way to do so is to say good night, St. Kitts and Nevis. Good night to the entire Caribbean region. And good night to the Kittian and Nevisian diaspora. And I can say good morning as well as I can say good afternoon, because some of you are in Asia, there's some of you in Europe, there's some of you in Africa, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say all those greetings, because I know that one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's in the process continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis in the as one of the freest countries in the entire world. We try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. You know, at times I was minded to just pack up and go relax, get some sun all over my body, take a swim, you know, probably take a walk in the hills, or do something that's casual. But, you know, having listened to the press conference today, I am reminded that I have to continue this service to my people and to my country, at least to fact check, to do things. And tonight, I want to just move right into my thesis tonight. And my thesis is entitled Snakes in the Government. And for my own research, I have concluded from my own research that there are almost 3,000 species of snakes that can be found worldwide. They can be found all over the world. I've also concluded from my research that the top 6 countries listed in which the most poisonous snakes were discovered are Colombia, Indonesia, India, Australia, Brazil, and Mexico. But snakes have a huge natural range and can be found as far north as Scandinavia and as far south as Argentina and South Africa. It is believed that they are on every continent except Antarctica, but there are places in the world that you just cannot find snakes, that do not have snakes. For example, if we take a trot across the globe, we will find that there are quite a few countries that do not have snakes. Interestingly, these countries have one thing in common, to wit, they are all islands, island states. So I suspect that they are not found on areas of land that are smaller than a continent and entirely surrounded by water, like here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and by extension in the Caribbean. So why do I say that there are snakes in the government, you may ask? Well, I chose the title of my thesis tonight just to warn you, my viewers and my listeners, that there are hidden dangers in the path on which the current administration is taking us as a people, and by extension is taking our beloved country of St. Kitts and Nevis. Academically put, I am using the title as a metaphor for hidden dangers to alert the new captain, the new prime minister, who is approaching the shore but seems totally unaware of the submerged rocks that could possibly wreck the ship. In the past, our country was exposed to risk. In the past, our country's risk of exposure to loss caused by certain events would have been manifested differently. The collection of risks to which I refer tonight include the political, social, economic, and environmental risk. In respect of the latter, the environmental risk, in the past, chances of our exposure would have been minimal. But today, climate change has dialed up possibilities of disaster most times. Climate variability has brought with it the 200-year cycle storm that has devastated in the past our infrastructure. Back then, in the 1990s or 1970s perhaps, or early 80s, the storms that came across here were 50-year cycle storms. Today, we have storms packing winds of up to 200 miles per hour, between 180 to 200 miles per hour. So, they call the 200-year cycle storm that has devastated our infrastructure. To say that we have not built resilience, however, is so disingenuous. It is really disingenuous to say that we have not built resilience in the country. We must have built resilience if we follow the facts, my Straight Dog family, and we as a people, as I said, we have built resilience.
It was also important to emphasize our building resilience in St. Kitts and Nevis. You are aware of how we have been devastated by hurricanes in the past. We are saying that we need to build resilience, and we need to be able to ensure that there is available capital financing so that we can rebuild our infrastructure quickly once we would have been visited by devastating hurricanes.
But, as I said, to suggest that we have not built resilience is so disingenuous. In fact, we built resilience over the years in terms of our coastal revetment all around the country. We should have built resilience on, we started building resilience on Irish Townbury Road, and should have built resilience across Fort Thomas Hotel area, or Portlands area. And how can we overlook what we did at Old Road Bay? What we did at Old Road Bay is an example of resilience that we built. Because never again will soil slippage impede traffic flow. Never again will a rock fall from the mountain and kill anyone who was commuting on that stretch of the island main road. And I recall, and that means so much to me, because I recall sometime in 2015 or 2016, I think it was, when we had the SMS committee meeting, and the Public Works Department, or Public Works Department, presented our capital projects in the budget process. And I thought I missed something. And I asked the question, what about the Old Road Bay project? And a young lady who was in charge of capital projects in the Ministry of Sustainable Development looked at me and said, Old Road Bay was not a priority. I paused, because I was taken aback. And I said, beg pardon? And in a stern, condescending voice, she said, Old Road Bay was not a priority. And my only reaction after pausing for some seconds was, how many people must die across Old Road Bay before it becomes a priority? I had to remind her and tell her in no uncertain terms that a young man from my own constituency died across Old Road Bay from rockfall into the car in which he was driving. And I said, when will it become a priority? My colleague said I was a bit harsh on the young lady. But the fact is, we all in St. Kitts and Nevis must be proud of that piece of infrastructure. And we must thank the Republic of China and Taiwan as well for grant funding that project of some $38 million. And Old Road Bay and that stretch of road as part of the Island Road network will never be the same again. I know I can hear you say the lights are missing. The Old Road Bay lights are missing, and perhaps we need to find them. But extreme rainstorms become more prevalent, or as they become more prevalent, as they become more common, we are more vulnerable to flooding, and it only takes one single event that can destroy our economy. Sea level rise is not only damaging our coastal areas, but also causing saltwater intrusion into our coastal aquifers. From an economic perspective, globalization has opened the process of cross-border exchange and the free flow of goods, services, and people between our different countries of the world. And look what it has done to us here in St. Kitts Nevis. No matter how it is now being spun, the small business effort started under the Douglas Labour administration and failed. So too will the efforts of the Jew Labour administration fail if it continues on this current path. The new Minister of Business, my friend, the Honorable Samuel Duggins, I confess, I believe that he is dreaming. He must be dreaming if he had this to say today, my Straight Dog family.
And as a minister responsible for, I want to speak to the future of our country as it relates to our people developing themselves in small businesses. Because when we rallied to get here, we offered a vision of a new St. Kitts and Nevis. And the Small Business Development Ministry, as we are now rolling it out, because obviously it did not exist in the last budget, but we are also organizing that we can provide low-interest financing to our business people, and also grants. And so as we go into estimates and budget in the few weeks coming, we want to ensure that by 2023, that our people see an increase in successful small businesses. And we stand committed to that.
My friend, Samal, you must be dreaming. And I admire your passion as a new minister. But the fact is, the vast majority of small businesses, as I like to refer to them as the small mom and pop shops, have been replaced in our rural communities in particular by the Chinese. How many Chinese operations are in number 4? Over time, our mom and pop shops have literally gone out of business. They no longer exist. That's the reality. And the few that remain have either become invisible or they have just got lost. In my community of Newtown, my friend Africa once referred to George Street as the fallopian tube of commerce. But examine the area today. Over 70%, beg your pardon, of the businesses comprise of Hispanic bars and a Chinese supermarket. A very high percentage of the residents in the neighborhood are also Hispanic, thus overshadowing the locals. My thesis tonight will also expose the snakes in the government who are vicious enemies of the people and who are lurking beneath the surface. An election has come and gone, and we all anticipated a feeling of safety and comfort and a hope for rejuvenation. We therefore let down our guard and totally exposed ourselves. The last thing we expected was there were also poisonous snakes nearby. Little that we knew, at the nest where these snakes are being incubated and nurtured are within the Jew Labour administration and the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Just today, I saw a letter of a low-level employee who has been fired with immediate effect. They haven't even said or included the man's salary, but that's for another time. But how could the representative in East Bastille, after being assigned to the important Ministry of Human Settlement, that's a nice word, they call it housing, How could he retain a special advisor who stubbornly denied shelter for 36 families in Constituency 1 or East Bastille? He must be considered a poisonous snake in the Jew Labour government. The special advisor helped to manage the campaign for the former representative of Constituency number 8, Hamilton, in the 2010, the 2015, and the 2020 elections. He offered himself as a candidate for PAM in the 2022 election and was overlooked by his leader Sean Richards for the other Hamilton. I have a copy of a proposal that he submitted to help Talbot Bass on the following terms and conditions. 1. He be paid $1.25 million. 2. He be allocated 2 acres of land. 3. He be guaranteed a job on the PLP for 3 persons for 5 years. Talbot Bass, I'm told, did not show up to the meeting, but sent an underling, and this upset the advisor. He then shared proprietary election information with the opposition, and just recently he confided in my close friend that he voted for Labour. So is that the justification for the retention of this snake in the government as an advisor? His colleague, I refer to her tonight. She shall be nameless, but I'll refer to her as C squared, meaning C multiplied by C. If you do your maths, that's C squared, I believe. Or 2 C's, C and C. The other snake in the government, I'm told she got a job at the JN France General Hospital. I do not know if his daughter, the 3rd person, got a job. But what I do know is that the families on West Street and East Street were deprived of their houses, yet this snake in the government is being retained as an advisor to my representative, but more to come. Now, most people do not like what happened in our country this year, 2022. Never in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis was there a palace coup. We experienced a terrible attack on democracy. We have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we all have survived. However, the current state of St. Kitts and the Nevis is dire. As my friend who said, nothing going on. It seems that we must endure what is not just nonsense, but politicians at the highest level, hell-bent to destroy the people and in the end destroy St. Kitts and Nevis. Let us, however, console ourselves in the knowledge that God is large and God is in charge. That should be our declaration of faith and trust in the Almighty Creator. It is to Him we must make our prayers sincere. It is from Him only that we can expect our deliverance from harm. We must also remind ourselves of the realization and understanding that rattlesnakes rattle. It is foolish to expect anything else. Those persons that do not have the best interest for our country at heart should be expected to behave as they did. We must understand that the behavior and legislation come from the evil in the hearts and minds of the current political bunch, the current political leaders. We should expect nothing else, and we should not be surprised what they do. Our experience over the past 7 years must have taught us a lesson that in the future we cannot and must not tolerate anyone who does not have a patriotic devotion to develop our country. We must come together as a people and say, this shall never stand. This shall never be tolerated. With respect to our future, we must have diligent awareness of anyone who seeks a national political position. We must examine them, and we must respond to the snakes in the government with legal force and intolerance. St. Kitts Nevis cannot afford to lose control of its own government. That must be for the people, of the people, and by the people. Our new Prime Minister has so far issued more than one decree, as if he is a king, without any due process through Parliament. These executive orders, I call them, are like royal pronouncements over the populace, over the people. To many, this political party in office is not that lifeline that many thought could be thrown at them. It's not that lifeline that we thought which could be thrown at us. By all observations, they are in it together for themselves. We must pray like we never have done before. We must beware like we never have before. We must trust God to deliver us from those snakes in the government. In closing though, in closing, my people, I will end just like I started. Recall that I said that the title of my thesis tonight, the title of my program tonight was used as a metaphor for hidden dangers. To alert us as a people, to alert the new Prime Minister and to encourage him as well to chart his course around the unpredictable climate, submerged rocks, and coral reefs that could wreck the ship of state. These are what I refer to as the snakes in the government. As a matter of fact, Prime Minister Drew will sooner rather than later have to deal with the big snake in his cabinet. And he has a very big snake in his cabinet, I dare say. And we know that snake. We know who that snake is.
The election. But today is another formal step in ensuring that you return the right candidate. Nothing else, nothing better than Dr. Denzil L. Douglas, DLD, simply the best. Simply the best. I give you the assurance that with the blessings of God, I, Denzil Llewellyn Douglas, shall be there as your representative in our parliament and in our cabinet to look after your interests and the interests of your family.
You haven't done it. No.
Simply the best. Simply the best.
I repeat that sooner rather than later, you will find out that there's a big snake in his cabinet. But there are other snakes in the government as well, like my good friend who shall be nameless, but who, like many others, turned Labour immediately after learning the results of the election of August the 5th. My good friend turned Labour, and I had just to smile. I had to laugh when I saw my friend the day after elections.
Since the election, everybody turned Labour. Well, but if you have any sense at all, everybody would turn Labour. It ain't look like Labour going out anytime soon. Since the election, everybody turned Labour. But if you have any sense at all, everybody would turn labor. It ain't look like labor going out anytime soon.
My people, like snakes in the grass, many put on their red labor shirts to easily blend in with the supporters of the party in office. So there are snakes all over. There are snakes in the cabinet. There are snakes in government departments, in statutory corporations, and government-owned companies. We have heard of hidden dangers in NHC. We heard of them in Scasper. We heard of snakes in the Solid Waste Management Corporation. We heard of snakes and no hidden dangers in Skillet. There are other snakes in the government, such as the economy. The economy is a hidden danger that must be addressed. Loss of jobs with the closure of Cajola Cristada, for example, is a serious blow. But what is confusing and so absurd about this regime is that Cajola Cristada has closed after 24 years or more and moving to Mexico to benefit from lower wages. So how could our leader be talking about increasing the minimum wage? And I know you will misunderstand me and spin this how you want to spin it. But the fact is, the last time the minimum wage was increased to $9.60 or whatever it is per hour, those young women and those women generally on the industrial side fared worse. I met this lady who was at this particular factory for almost 20 years. And I said to her, well, you must be a big boss now and making a lot of money. She looked at me and she said, Patches, since I increased the minimum wage, my salary reduced. I'm working for less hours. I'm working for less than 40 hours per week. And that is sad. So we have to find a way. We must find a way to collaborate with these manufacturers or these business people and find a way to ensure that everyone gets a livable wage. Inflation, food, energy, and water are hidden dangers and snakes in the government. Thank God for the leadership of former Prime Minister Harris, who managed the COVID-19 well. He understood management as he did things right. And like a good leader, he did the right things. His fiscal actions helped the economic recovery following a 2-year lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic. Whether you like to hear that or not, it is fact. I don't care whatever you call him. He can defend himself. I'm sure he will. He's been extremely, extraordinary quiet, but that's him. I am saying that he understood management, having done things right. And he acted like a good leader because he did the right things. The fiscal policies of the Harris-led government stimulated growth, and the growth we are seeing now in 2022. Those fiscal policies have stimulated growth, and the growth we are seeing now, whether we like it or not. That's the facts. That's the facts, my straight dog family. The fiscal policies of Harris stimulated growth. Stimulated growth, and the growth we are seeing now, my straight dog family. And I believe that we have to give Jack his jacket, and we give kudos where kudos belong.
Important to emphasize our commitment to building resilience in St. Kitts and Nevis. You are aware of how we have been devastated by hurricanes in the past. We are saying that we need to build resilience, and we need to be able to ensure that there is available capital financing so that we can rebuild our infrastructure quickly once we would have been visited by devastating hurricanes.
Forgive me for that, my Straight Talk family. I went and I spoke rather to the policies of the then Harris-led administration that resulted in the growth, 9.4% I think it was growth we are seeing now.
You asked specifically about St. Kitts and Nevis. We see a dynamic in the country similar to the rest of the Caribbean, where the economy has recovered quite a bit this year. In fact, we project growth at 9.8 for 2022, helped by the recovery in tourism. Now going forward, because of the global slowdown that we are projecting, including in the US and Europe, we see this tourism weakening as well for next year. So growth we are projecting at the moment at 4.8 for 2023.
And that does not sound good for next year, 4% growth. But the hidden dangers of inflation causing financial hardships for many families. My people, it is another snake in the government. It is a hidden danger that has derived many questions, and we must ask the important questions such as, what are the plans of the Jew Labor Administration to get food prices down? What are the plans of the Jew Labor Administration to get gas prices down? Another snake in the government, sad to say, is located within the office of the Attorney General, Justice and Legal Affairs. And I say so respectfully. And why I say so? Because there is a hidden danger in that office that advance a 70-30 rule with an objective to publicly embarrass some citizens. And that to me is troubling.
I might be publicly embarrassing some people. Prison. I'm contemplating whether I should do that, and I'm minded more so about 70-30 to embarrass some people who might not have been corrupt, but were, I don't want to use the word I used earlier, but not very friendly towards our treasury, and I'm not going to tolerate that, and I'm going to embarrass some people.
That, to me, my people, is a real or a hidden danger. That is what I refer to as a snake in the government. It is a real threat to our democracy. And A.G. Wilkin has meanwhile refused to retract his blatant discrimination against the rights of individuals. And my dear son, A.G. Wilkin, the job of any or every Attorney General must be to uphold the Constitution, and at all material times he or she must ensure, has to ensure, that there is due process, meaning that every citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis has a right to a hearing. Due process is a requirement in law, that legal matters be resolved according to established rules and principles, and that individuals must be treated fairly. Having listened to the cabinet press conference today, or the Prime Minister's press conference, whichever it was, also to the interviews before of the Prime Minister, I have concluded that since taking office, the Prime Minister has behaved like a boxer who is punch drunk. I say so because he has behaved in a way that suggests his brain was damaged from being hit repeatedly on the head. He was punch drunk. All these punches he got in the boxing ring. Or perhaps he is power drunk and has a strong but unreasonable feeling of being able to control us as a people just because he is the Prime Minister. And this in itself is an hidden danger. Finally, I raise the issue of the construction of the new Bastille High School. And the Minister of Education said this today.
As a government, we are going to deliver a brand new Bastille High School on the existing grounds, the original grounds of the Bastille High School. We have also engaged a number of our talented architects, and at the right time they will be making their submissions to the cabinet. In addition to that, we are at the point where we are going to have out for tendering in very short time, looking at demolishing the buildings, getting the grounds ready. The AG is also assisting me in looking at the contracts that we would have had with the former group, the Innotech group, that were proposing to build on the aquifer, but you know that is a no-no. In fact, in our finding thus far, we have spent almost $15 million just to manage the project.
Listening to the minister, I am convinced that he was either ill-prepared or ill-advised, one or the other, or both. Because the $15 million, and I'm not here to represent anybody, but I want to bring the facts. And the propaganda that's constantly being peddled by this new administration must stop. They have to stop. Govern as you ought to govern. And if you talk about good governance, then the truth must always come forth. Because there's no democracy without truth. And listening to the minister, I am forced to ask as well, is it as easy to abandon the plans at Ponds Estate and move to the original site? Think about it, my people. Yes, the Jew labor regime has taken a policy decision. And they have that right as a government. It is a political decision. But what is the cost of that decision to the country? It must come at some cost. The government has a right to implement its policy obligation. I repeat that. The government has a right to implement its policy obligation. But why? Why was the AG so silent on the legal obligation of the government? This is another hidden danger. And these hidden dangers are not exhaustive. Suffice to add, therefore, there are snakes in the government. And that's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I am going to open the lines. And you are entitled here on Straight Up. You are always entitled to be at variance with my view. My view that there are snakes in the government. And I said so, and I use the title of my thesis as a metaphor to warn you that there are hidden dangers, political, social, economic, and other dangers. And that, again, is my story for tonight, and I am not going to change it. I will therefore open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. Remember, the numbers to call are 869-663-6672. That's the local number, 663-6672. And or the overseas contact is 646-829-6672. For those of you who like the cloak of anonymity, I also want to inform you that our email address is Straight Talk Patches. That's one word, StraightalkPatches @gmail.com. So the lines are open, my Straight Talk family. You tell me about the other snakes in the government. As I said, I refer to it or them as snakes in the government. In fact, they are synonymous to hidden dangers. There are hidden dangers here in the country, and we have to speak about it and speak and try to ensure that we address them. I know I did not address as well one bit of information that came to us today and relates to the appointment of a new supervisor of elections. And that supervisor, I'm told, is Oakland Pete's, who has replaced Elvin Bailey, who resigned a week or two ago on the 12th of August, I think. Let's go back to the lines, or let's go to the lines, I should say, at 12 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
In Patches, hope all is well, sir.
Peaceful, all is peaceful. And yourself?
No, good. Hang in there, buddy. I see I got a chance to watch your press conference. You realize that, Douglas, well, you are the default leader of the PLP. You're going to be the leader. You're going to be prime minister right here. No, I swear. I mean, nobody walks as hard as you outside of Dr. Ali, but nobody could hear no. So you're the default leader of PLP. Listen to me. They can't go with you. But that's it. I swear, everybody know that you're the default leader. But listen, you know that Denzel couldn't call that boy, what's his name? Drew. He couldn't call him PM. All the other people saying PM, but he started to say, he said Dr. Drew. So it's hard for him to say PM Drew. The part I watch anyway. So, I mean, it's his party. He owns it. And so he's not going to be, I don't think he had the respect for you. No, I think you could do well if he stopped trying to go at Harris and Harris' brother. If you want to get rid of these guys who was in the peace thing, fire them tomorrow. What's the hold up? Why are they stealing your stuff? Why are you still paying them money? But you see, a lot of those guys who you see were killing people, a lot of them, they were selling drugs when they were 13 and 14, and they were helping to push drugs up into America for the Labour Party. Trust me, a lot of these young guys didn't just come killers like that, okay? They were selling drugs and pushing drugs in America for the Labour Party.
Yeah, but,
now, let's see.
But my brother, we like on Straight Talk to advance the truth. I mean, what is the basis for that? That's a bold statement, though. But please.
Well, no, I'm not going to say it right now, the thing, but I'm telling you, they had to do with people naturally. Well, because this thing was tied up.
Okay.
In jobs. I ain't calling her name, but what I'm telling you.
But you said you
I'm not going to call here and tell you who the people are.
Labour Party and drugs and it's, you know.
Yes, I was in why the Labour Party was into. Look, some of the elite don't think it, Patrick. The elite of Labour were controlling money. And I always say, Little Nut was more patriotic than a lot of those people. Trust me. It's a lot of stuff. He was more patriotic than a lot of those people. Don't think I'm telling you, I know what I know. No. A friend told me that, and he said, you know, and mine, I'm not calling a name, no individual name. You know what he said? Well, number one, we need to see who's going to be the architect to do that school. We want to see. We want to see if they can go back into the same thing, in the same trough. Well, we will watch and see. A lot of those young people, some of those people who are running those boards now, 5, 7 years ago, there were young people giving out money to people, and they couldn't wait to put them on these boards. I'm not going to call names again. Okay? If you want to think, you contact me. But I'm not going to call. I said Labour was into drugs, selling drugs. I ain't calling a name. Labour was just like Pam was. But listen to me, what I'm saying, Patrick. It's a lot of crap. But somebody said to me, a friend, he said, you know something? He said, you know, this was Zambo. I said, oh, yeah. He told me that earlier in the day. And later, you know, he said, you know, Eli and Aya called in talking about the thing. And he said, you know, Sam didn't say one word. I guess he was disappointed because he knows Sam well and he knows Zambo well, and they were both his friends. And he told me he used to visit with Zambo in Sanquet because Sam always spent his vacation in Sanquet. So he was surprised that Sam didn't say anything. And Sam didn't say anything about Zambo. You know, he didn't even say, oh, well, but he said when Sam was in the opposition, everything was this about Zambo, what happened to Zambo. But no, Sam wouldn't say, he said Sam didn't say a word. No, he said Aya's calling and Eli calling and talking about the anniversary. Is that how you treat a friend? But I'm telling you right now, you don't tell me. I know we all know who pushed drugs in the thing. But Patrick, you hang in there, and I'll call Thursday night. I'll call back Thursday night. But let me tell you, you have to have laws instinctive. People are getting away with murder. And I'm going to talk about that court today. It's not court. The court is a waste of time. You know? And I'm not misogynistic. But a lot of the women in that court as judges, they don't need to be in here. And the lawyers, they're lazy and incompetent. And the judges too. Listen to me, things need cleaning up and sinking. It's a pity Harris couldn't do it because, like I said, he had the snakes on his back. So he had to be fighting to keep the country going. But Labour pushed drugs into America. Pam did the same thing, okay? I ain't calling you a name, but you all know the deal. Come on.
Okay,
Patrick, look, all the best, and I'll talk to you again. I'll talk to you Thursday night. Have a good one. Leader.
All the best, my brother. Thanks for your input. You're never short on being assertive. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Patrick.
How are you, my brother?
How are you doing?
I am peaceful. I'm peaceful.
Okay, the culture here is very peaceful too.
Are you one of those snakes in the government?
No, I am a snake from the time I was born, and I'm going to die a snake. But a harmless snake. And a snake that is guided by my conscience. My conscience is my dictator.
Okay.
Let that dictate to me. That is what going on, brother man, and can't come good evening, you know.
Sure, heard that.
Well, let me put down my record clear. That all who is heard in me, I do not have any record anyway to be expunged. Because anywhere I live, I obey the laws of the land. I started obeying the laws of the land here where I was born, and I live many places all over the world, and I respect the laws of the land. So there is no record for me to be expunged. Or you get that clear and straight. So when I open my mouth, I know what I'm saying, and I could speak about what I want to say about. So nobody can put no word in my mouth and have a key or a drill to lose my tongue and tell me what to say. No way. You know what we're going to have to do in this country, Patrick? We're going to have to eliminate the population of the monkeys and increase the population of the mongoose. So the mongoose could kill the amount of rattlesnakes we got around.
They're dangerous, you know.
Very much. And I could tell you, the new Prime Minister, Dr. Joe, his ears will soon go bad. Because the amount of rattlesnakes he got around him, when they start to rattle, they're going to mash up his ear bell. So he got to make sure he gets rid of those rattlesnakes from around him, and then he deal with the other snakes, the anaconda and all those other snakes. Because, Patrick, let me tell you something. I never see more labor since election. I know we had a lot of labor from a long time, and everybody free to join whatever political party they want to. But we see someone you call Judas is the worse than the Bible Judas, worse than the Bible Jezebel, and the worse than the Bible Delilah. You're going to tell me that I criticize, PAM so much. I criticize NRP, CCM, Labour, UPP, PLP, and as soon as the rain don't fall, I change my clothes and do nothing happen. Well, I want to tell such persons, anybody who do that, Judas, he sold Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver. And after he get the silver, the price for the silver went up because of who he sold for them. But they were not used to him. That's why the scripture says, what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? That's what has happened to Judas. Because after receiving those silvers for what he did, look how he ended up. He hung himself, commit suicide, and he loses silver. So nobody's supposed to sell nothing for no money. Let your conscience be a guide. Tell boy, no, I can't sell my soul for that. I have principle and I have pride. Well, when the wind blow, whole people say you see forward bomb. Well, the wind ain't blow too strong, you know. And we don't see a lot of foul bottom exposed. But what start wrong, it will end wrong. Such as I will come up because other people want to get in, and I don't like to stay long when other people want to talk. So I'll talk to you again.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your intervention. Yes, you never see foul what until the wind blow. Geothermal investigations and groundworks activities are now planned for St. Kitts and Nevis, reads this email. Part of the approved plans for the geothermal investigation recommencement include deep borehole high pressure fracking with intermittent shock blast wave technology. It is widely believed that this was the same method employed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which contributed to or caused the great eruption on that island. Geothermal energy is a dangerous proposition, beg your pardon, in the Caribbean, and its continued exploration should be employed in very, very limited situations or locations considering its lack of success to date. The only thing that geothermal investigations will do is create a very dark and deep hole into which Drew and Brantley will throw tens of millions of dollars, reads that email. It's now 9 o'clock, right to the top of the hour. We go straight back to the lines. Caller, you are live.
Patrona, greeting. Good night to you. What up? Here I'm Patrick Liburd. Good night to your listeners via radio and internet.
Good night.
How you there? How your night is going?
Peaceful, my dear brother Ras Aya. We're peaceful. And yourself?
Me giving thanks because right now me just listen to your program and I smoke ganja in my pipe. You see? Me thankful for life.
In your yard?
Yeah.
Right?
The judge don't tell this state that Rasta have the right to associate with ganja, so leave the rest of them alone. Now let me get to the matter what you raised tonight in the pharmacy discussion. I heard you in the context of this press conference was laid out today of the first Prime Minister press conference with his colleague. I find that there was an educational level of development to the country and the people. Now, we have to be mindful how we see things utter out on the platform when you're campaigning. And now it's time now for work to be done. And we still feel like we're in a campaign mood in election status. Now, we all have done and win the election now in 2022 as August the 5th. What is the best measure you all need to put in place is how we can safeguard the people them when it comes to the challenges time. And I realize they didn't put much emphasis in that. Even into the CBI program, what they call the Citizen by Investment program. I find that the Prime Minister detailed a lot from it because he don't want to really bring the context of what needs to be said about the program. And he said the program is a long, old program that even the former Prime Minister, Dr. Denzel Douglas, make some emphasis on it when he make his statement, because I find these things are very critical to see that we don't know, see the benefit and the economical resources that drive in this program. And we're supposed to have a report annually in the context of this program and in the way the format is set up since 1984 to 2022. Because I make sure I listen to your last time on your program, either Thursday, if my memory serves me right, that you make a statement based on to the Prime Minister now that what have he indicated to the general public at large and the whole world about the impact of people since he have taken office on that program. And I realized he didn't put the outline on that in his press conference.
And nobody asked a question. And nobody asked a question. Yeah.
And they didn't ask a question, and I find it very shocking to see how. That's what I even called Denzel Douglas after the press conference. I have his number, even though Mr. Jedi might have his number personally. I mean, keep in touch with these levels of these people who feel like they're so educational and so brilliant. But we're not here to run the rat race. We are here to educate one another. And I find that the information is not fully coming.
Oh.
And it's time now the journalists them do their job properly and stop playing this little monkey talk. Or they just come to ask some kind of silly question, which is maybe denying your question them. But it's time now we put the ball at the court and let us play to resolve the matter at hand. Because even the Prime Minister now outlining some details that people trying to contain and consider and saying all kind of things about what he's doing. But the Prime Minister said, I'll give us the outline of what you're doing and what you're saying to defend our state and our nation, because you're looking to travel just soon up in Taiwan with the Premier of Nevis. And I hope when you all do travel and you return back to St. Kitts and Nevis, you all give us some kind of idea what is the magnitude that your travel was based on and how are we going forward? Because I don't trust Taiwan neither. I will be real frank. I don't trust these people. Because when they use their money to contain their power and the gain around the small developing countries, we have a lot of problems coming on the hand. And you just outline it in your discussion about the mom and pop shop. And we ain't playing. If we ain't seeing people right, politicians, what are your steps? And this is a serious talk. Me not check nobody. But it's time now to bring education to our people and stop playing fool with the mind of your people. If thank Brother Patrick, I hope that we people have an informative discussion tonight with your program. And we have some results of going forward as a nation, because we cannot continue being a beggar. Blessed love, give thanks.
Blessed love, my brother. Always very assertive with your comments, with your own assessment of what's happening on the ground. And quite interesting, you raise that issue about, I'm paraphrasing here, about campaigning versus governing, because the campaign is over, and you still think that the Prime Minister is still in campaign mode. I mean, for instance, the Prime Minister said this today. The Prime Minister said this today, which made me feel so disappointed. He said this.
I think it's a Nevis in 7 years. No wonder we had no investment. A major advancement in our sectors here in our country. New government coming in, our new administration, we had to make sure that we made those connections. So when we traveled to work. And so that is why the ministers had to travel, to make sure that we reconnect with our international community and to say to them that St. Kitts and Nevis is back. They will tell you that when they traveled, people were like, wow, we have not seen a representative from St. Kitts and Nevis in 7 years. No wonder we had no investment. A major advancement in our sectors here in our country.
Could you imagine that? I mean, you haven't seen a minister for 7 years. We had no investment for 7 years in our major sectors. One of the largest and most important investment in the country in the last 7 years was the construction of the new cruise pier, the second cruise pier, costing over $130 million. Local input. And that is not investment. Where was Dr. Joe? Stop campaigning, stop politicking, and start governing. And yes, the media. The media is supposed to be the fourth estate. And I agree with Ras Aya that there ought to be an annual report on this program called the CBI. Well, let's get back to that. I'll go to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Good night. Good night. How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
I had the flu, so I can't talk too long.
You have the flu?
My flu name, cheating. I forget now. Cheating and going to, where the place then they're going? China. Flu. Taiwan flu. And the same person with the gang of force study that they couldn't get in. At them going, Lord have mercy. You see, as culture say, why you talk about the rattlesnake? Mother, well. Mr. Liburd, if I come back, but I ain't make sure to feel so good tonight. Yeah. I have others to say, but Lord Almighty. I mean, they're going Taiwan. Taiwan is they're going?
Yes, Taiwan, yes.
Taiwan with the man of Nevis, what put Chan them to go against Timothy? They would have been in government right now. You see not call no name, but Lord, Mr. Liburd, to call some name in between. It's heartbreaking. The man do so good, so much good. Before they stop and start to do what to do in the place, they're going again. And the joyride, they waste the money. IMF in problem. Not IMF, where they place the man name. UNS, who does lend money? IMF, you mean? Yeah. Every day I watch news, world news, and know and see what's going on. So if they're wasting the money to go to follow the Barbados Prime Minister, Kaiser Fred, woe be unto them. Tap home and see what to do. Because they was here in the same story when they abuse Timothy, he now do this and he now do that. But what they're doing and what they're going to do. See you. Get back and try to hurt me. Chief in
Thanks for your input, my dear sister. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. Please be cautious with those comments. Mr. Liburd reads this email. As I take a retrospective glance at the last unity government and the ensuing general election, I am more convinced that Prime Minister Harris's leadership was par excellence in every aspect of governance. No matter what the critics, naysayers, and the 6 unhinged lunatics particularly, who prematurely brought an end to the government of Team Unity, must never ever sit in a seat of government again in this country. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your live.
Hello?
Yes, you're live.
The gods they like and they come when they want. So now you know what I like. Nobody can tell you.
No, take your time. Take your time. You there?
I said the burning them, especially the lady who speak there just now on Mr. Politics, when they was there, they do as they wish, when there was their time to go and come, as they like. They're not taking the money and making it no joy ride. They're going to do business for us, and we love our Prime Minister, Dr. Jude.
And that's your right, but can I ask you a question now? Right?
I listen to you.
That is your right, and everybody has the right of choice. That's guaranteed in the Constitution. But do you believe, though, that they are to report to the country?
Well, yes, they can come and report to us, and whatever they tell us, we're going to believe them. Because when the other set was there, then they not come lie with nothing. I will look at Jack and Jill going up and falling away.
And that was bad.
Yeah.
Somebody raised the issue of the annual reporting, for example, on the CBI, the number of passports sold and so on. And I asked the question on my last program, because I understand that the Prime Minister signed approximately 14 or 1,500 passport applications. Is that something they believe the country should know too?
Well, what I said before, we did not know, and if they let us not disturb not of them business, it was the light.
That's the way you want the country to run? Seriously?
Well, I say when I run now, we don't know where I go on.
But that was bad. If that was so, would agree that was bad, right?
Yes.
Right. So it was wrong.
So we're going we're going to do better because we're taking out of the book that was there and we're going to clean it up, and when we don't clean it up, we're going to settle down and everybody going to know what's going on.
Okay.
We're feeling happy because we know things that is going on now.
Okay. So but you'll agree that 2 wrongs don't make a right, though, right?
No.
Okay. But thanks for your input. You are entitled to your view. And imagine if everybody was supporting one party. Imagine what would happen in the country. But yes, I believe that the opportunity has come to put things right if they were wrong, and if they were wrong, then you don't repeat the wrong. And again, when it comes to the freedom of information, lots of people talk about freedom of information, want the legislation, but you don't have to. It's not a must that you have freedom of information legislation And you can't talk, if you don't have the legislation, sorry, you can't ask a question at the press conference. I mean, these softball questions put up bold by the fourth estate, you know. We are a country, a matured country, 39 years old, going on to our 40th anniversary. And we have to act a little more responsible than that. Whatever happened in the past, if it was wrong, it was wrong. And to err is human. Everybody make mistakes. To err is human. Nobody is perfect. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller? Are you there, caller? Caller, listen to the telephone. Are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're live.
Achille?
Yes, you're live, sir.
Achille?
Yes, you are live. The whole world is listening to you. Just turn your radio down and listen to the telephone.
All right, okay, Achille. Yes, listen.
Turn the equipment down. Major, this is an order from the colonel. Turn your radio down. Listen to I'm the colonel tonight. Could you turn your radio down? I want the world to hear. Then tell the world what's on your mind.
No, you know that I don't like to talk with you. But I want to ask you a question, and then I'm going to give you the idea. You ever heard a word they call self-talk?
Self-talk?
S-E-L-F-K-A-L-K. Self-talk. You never heard about that?
No, I'm lost. Tell me about it.
Self-talk. Well, you know, self-talk is a sort of a term. It's a term you use for behavioral science. Get me? And that is used to have inner conversation.
And how you spell it, you say?
S-E-L-F-T-A-L-K. Self-talk.
Self-talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Self-talk.
Yes, sir?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is a sort of behavioral science used for inner conversation like these, what you have in here. And each of us we've been buzzing around in our heads night and day. And it includes messages about ourselves, others, and our experiences. Like over here, a gentleman tonight speaking, and you know, sometimes I always wonder, it bothers me something, but I don't worry. He's talking, he go from one end of the rope to the next end, abusing people, and talking about dope and all this thing. That is not nice. I mean, if he's trying to say something, come with concrete facts, because he make you and I look stupid and your program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Major. Self-talk, that's imagining, right? Unspoken thoughts that run through your mind. I think it's something like that. Caller? Are you there, caller?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Oh, you're still there? Okay. So that's all you have to, that's your input?
Yes, that's all, because, you know, let's be realistic, man. Okay. I mean, we're talking, this is we people are literal people, we are intelligent people. Yes. And we can't compete with a lot of stupid on the radio. It's making me and you look stupid, isn't it?
Right. Okay. Fall out, Major.
Okay.
Yes, my dear Major Jones, giving his own particular view on an earlier contribution, and one understands, you know, I understand, and he advanced his view of self-talk, right? And, you know, I think these are thoughts that can be positive or negative. But tonight, just in the event you have just joined me, we are looking at snakes in government. And I use it, the caption, the title of my thesis, I use it as I said earlier, for those who may have just joined me, I use it as a metaphor that reflects danger or hidden dangers. Hidden dangers in particular areas. And the title as a metaphor for hidden dangers is to alert us of the possibilities of the challenges, the things that can go wrong in our country, especially in these unprecedented times. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live.
Yes, Patches, I'm back. Major, good evening. Patches, you see why you have to have a lot of lawyers to represent people? Worldwide, there are many persons, innocent people in prison because of false witness and information. I haven't heard, you haven't heard, nobody have heard Mr. Politics calling the program for the night. And you see, when people supporting wrong, when they support the wrong, they don't realize what they're saying. They should shut up. Mr. Politics was accused a while ago. And Mr. Politics ain't calling. It's me culture, yeah.
He was
radical
accused.
Culture, come on.
He was accused by someone? He was accused by someone?
Yeah, call Mr. Politics name a while ago. Saying that let the government do what they want. Let it do what they like. When you said two wrongs do not make a right.
I don't think the lady didn't call him by his name.
She said Mr. Politics.
Well, that's
right there on the tape. She said it.
All right, okay. What's the point?
Yes. Now, the investment, like you point out the new pier, that's an investment. All road there is an investment, very important investment.
That's right.
Because all road there is in a situation or position, it save and prevent lives from getting damage across there. So that's a very important investment.
Yes.
And where they're building in your Horizon prison facility, that is an investment. And where they were going to build a new school, that is an investment too. So how could I say there hasn't been any investment in 7 years? People must stop telling lies. It doesn't matter who you're talking about. Speak the truth, man. Truth set you free. When you speak the truth, who want to murder you, that's their business. God will deal with them if they can do wrong. Anybody can do wrong, God will deal with us. Because no man righteous. And when you see wrong, it doesn't matter who. Say, Mama, you're wrong. And if you want to be with, that is your business. But you know you clear your conscience. You don't have nothing to worry about. And Dr. Harris and Team Unity, they have done well in the 7 years that they've been in there. And more good was supposed to be done. But sadly, it cut short because of somebody greedy for something and they mislead the other person. In the 1980s, come under the leadership of Dr. Simmons, small businesses, they were put in place. When I come home from St. Thomas, when I walk to Central Street, and I see the amount of local people open up a business place, I say, what happened here, boy? This is great improvement from 1980 when Pam went into office. So when they're going to come and talk about nothing doing for the poor people, they must retract that.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll come back, Patrick.
Thanks for your intervention, as usual.
Thank you.
Always sound, my dear brother. Let's go back to the lines. A caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. It's now 24 past the 9 o'clock hour. If you have joined me for the first time, I say welcome. Tonight, we are looking at snakes in the government. And that's my thesis for tonight. But let's go back to the lines and I'll get back to that. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Hello, good night, Mr. Patches. Good night, brother, for you.
I am peaceful, yourself.
First time calling in for such a long time on your program, because when you your members which you found is come this me there sometime last year, you know. But don't worry, I don't fix up on freedom. Yes. Well, you say that. I mean, they're saying that the people are going away because they're going to on our business. But when I really listened to the press conference today, it ain't sound too bad, right? Yes, Mr. Timothy done some good. But what happened, as the gentleman just said, greediness, sometimes we got to kill a lot of it. He went in there with a mission, and that what happened. I'm really glad that he take up the country 2015 for true. God changed everything. But when I look to see what the change was all about, I said, no, I ain't like to see that. I voted for him. So, yes, he helped do a lot of things and people appreciate it. I'm appreciated. He helped me get my house bill, which he was in the end that was supposed to do when I was going in 2007 also. But it seems as though none of them are going to cabinet meeting, round table meeting, no one again to say what is decided or what not decided on where the complaint mostly coming from. There are a lot of complaints coming out of NHC. Because there was a lady there from Mullen, you feel like she was NHC, and she milled. And you know, why she was there, trying to back off a lot of people. I know somebody was to get a house from the sugar crop. And she telling this other person, oh, your wife going back labor, so you can't get it a poison garden. That was very wrong. Because Miss Marcella say, right in 2000, down in the area, they give all people who work in the sugar crop must get a house. And it was really bad to see the person who started out this in 1974 and didn't get a house. All them nonsense used to go on in our country. When Mr. Douglas put her off on her, but because she wanted to come with a fake thing, she come back on Mr. Timothy Ring and was playing nice. Well, I'm good. A couple months after they find out she was really digitally dodging, right? Playing dodging hoop. And other people there speak out about it because she wanted to disrespect one of the minister who was put there over her, right? And you do believe, after when I get the okay say, my house is to build. When I carry the plan there, she talk about, oh, this plan won't cost so much money. But she hundreds of $1,000s. What she take to build over there, where I should have lived because Mullen, you should really from. That spot should have been mine because I'm from Large Village. And she right there over Borough side. And look, man, tell her me want to move. And she was very unjust. If they put her somewhere else again, she was very unjust. If she know you're not back in the party, she ain't giving you the $500 and all them things there. People go up there. I go up there to her. She in a meeting, they gave me her number, call back, she ain't noticing me. And that is what happened to government people, workers. They must remember they only there part-time and do our work properly. They were put there to do our work and do it diligently and with common sense and stop believe that the whole country belongs to them. And what happened? We're going to see now what this government is going to do. And we're going to see if they're going to do much better. We're pleased with them at the moment. I don't know for later. Everybody going up because they're going out to see what they can do here. Marsha said that was a good idea. She's trying to go out to bring back AA in here. Because do you know, Mr. Patches, I don't know if you're here right now while you're overseas. Your people stranded, getting stranded bad. We had cricket the other day. The people will get stranded. People will leave from one point to go to the next. They can't get home. Stranded. And we could have get some money from that day stranded. Me and I look try have my bar. We look at me able to make a little person from the stranded.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question before you go? No, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mr. Right?
Just for my own assistance, right? You mentioned that the former prime minister did some good, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
But at some stage in his term or terms, he failed you, right? But some of the things I have heard about the former Prime Minister, I am asked myself if that is the same Prime Minister I knew. I mean, some of these things you hear, do you believe them, though?
I saw them, Mr. Lai, but I don't have to believe them.
You saw them?
From, you know.
Oh, you saw them?
I said he had the hand and I didn't like it.
Okay.
I would really want him to run for the other 2 years fully.
Mm-hmm.
I did really appreciate of him. Yeah, let's so what, but when I go over large and see them buy the property, so they want to put a development bank out there, I say no. That's supposed to be for everybody.
So who bought the property?
They say, well, one for his brother must have borrowed the money to open it.
And that was confirmed?
Really, he come from people was out there working.
Okay.
And there was another property side of him named Shark, is what for years. It used to be up running, but some mistake thing went on there. A little gunshot at one time and it was closed down. Okay. And when I look, I see them taking that. So that was going to be the parking lot for the bank.
Okay.
Then when I go down the road below the thing, and that's what bothers me because I'm an old woman. I don't know how old you be, but I don't know up to 79 going up there.
And look, so
when I go down the road and I said, this was a trick. When he said he's going to build a new center, over there had a center already, it didn't need to be just remodeled. If we had any board rotting in there, do some kind of repair.
Okay.
Because I went in it already after a funeral. Because over there from, I born at least and finished way up in Lodge Village. Okay. So that's what bothered me. Okay. I am not against Mr. Timothy. I like how we were moving in the country. But, you know, that's really failure. And below the center now, when I see his brother could have owned same house, and before this election finished, he went and break ground again to make 8. That really hurt my spirit. That's why I get bitter about it. Okay. And I said, not me, I wasn't going to vote PLP this year. Because I don't vote them twice, and I was pleased. Bring down the electricity, I was pleased. In the 2008, 9, 10, they put it up on high sky. I used to pay for somebody who ain't got no microwave, nothing, $100. And then he had to tell us, boy, come March 8 when he see they put it up. And Mr. Timothy and him and the farm company went out and march against it, and I was in the march. Every time march, I used to video. Okay. Right? So that's how I want to change. But then things overturned. He was going good. I don't know what really overturned the thing there. So we got to take with time and do things. Don't go after things. You know what will happen? We need public life integrity because true nothing there. But everybody just go in the house and do as they like to change so to go.
Okay.
Mr. About if I come in your place. Okay. If I meet something, I can't move it tonight to you. I got to say, Mr. Liburd, you're going to move this and you tell me yes or no.
Okay.
And that will really make the country, huh?
Okay, I'll give you a few seconds. I'm going to take some other calls.
Yes, that's why I really get mad about it. I don't want to him this time again if nothing goes sour like that. Okay. He has the money again.
Okay.
Went sour.
Okay, thanks
when hidden. The money went hidden.
Okay.
But we shouldn't know about the passport money.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot for your input. Let's go back to the lines. I want to thank this caller for holding. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Hello, Patrice.
Yes, you're live.
Patrice.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, my dear.
Bonnie's right off. Bonnie's right off.
Wait, please. I don't really cut people off, right? But if we're gonna go down the road, we're gonna have to part company. Please, let's keep it at the level. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, please, but please avoid the name calling. Please avoid the.
Yeah, but I know. Yeah, okay, I understand.
Yeah, please.
But she says she from Lodge. I from Lodge too.
Yeah.
She see where the community center was.
Okay.
Right. You couldn't keep nothing function in it.
Okay.
We wait long enough for a community center, so she don't have to talk about that
was
community
it.
center.
Where was it? It was up the road?
We wait long enough for that community center.
It was up the road, right? By the school? Where was it? The first
the
one?
community center is right between residential where people live. So you couldn't keep no function inside there.
Was it up the road, right? Was it?
I tell you, it's in the middle of Lodge.
Okay.
You couldn't keep no function in that community center.
So it made sense to build a new one.
It will affect the neighbors.
Okay.
Where the community center was, there's somebody live there, somebody lives to the side, and somebody live behind.
Okay. Okay.
So where that community, the new we had the worst community center out of all. Where that community center is right now, it's good. It's down there. So I don't know what she's talking about. She lived at least long time. Okay. So she don't know what's going on.
Okay.
She don't know what's going on.
Okay.
How often she go over there?
Okay, so
I don't know what she's talking about.
Okay, so the relocation was a good move. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I request for that all the time. Every time I see the PM, when are we going to get a community center? When we had the worst community center because the people was Douglas wasn't giving us nothing.
Okay.
The new project that built there. The road them Dr. Timothy was saying that he want the roundabout, just how the first roundabout where Bradley Church, Brother Bradley Church is, and go right over, and the other side was supposed to be a dead end. And he's supposed to build some road. We complain about how the dust and everything. And Douglas, at the time when election, Douglas sent some people from Public Works to build the road. The road's small. Okay. The new project that since Unity was in. You go up that project there, that extension with the road that you build, it's completely different. It's like a different area you're in. You won't believe you're in Lodge.
That's true. Okay.
To the compare of the one that we first project that they opened there. The roads are very small. At the other end over there, it was supposed to be a roundabout because Timothy had said we must build the fence them behind the electric post so that when they build the road, you go on the other end and you make a U-turn and go right back. It ain't working like that. It's not like that.
Okay.
It's not like that. So I don't know what she's talking about.
Okay, thanks.
Anyway, you have a nice evening.
Yes, have a nice evening as well. Thanks for the clarification. Yes, that's what Straight Talk is all about as we go straight back to the lines and see caller live. Hello, caller.
Hello, good night. Yeah. Tell Culture if when Unity was in doing all the wrong, if he was saying anything. I know he want to tell people what they must talk about what they say wrong now. It's all praise Unity used to get from him. Look at what they do. And they used to do a lot of wrong too. And he never once said he's wrong.
Okay.
And all of a sudden now he want to talk about who must talk about who wrong and who right.
So what are some of the wrongs that Unity did though?
A lot of corruption they was doing. That's why people vote them out.
So why corruption example?
Example? I'm not going to give an example because all I know involved.
No, you can't just see. We are supposed to be an intelligent people, so if you have this is exactly what's happening now, right? If you're gonna accuse someone, and that's what happened to the AG, for example, I raised that issue, right? If corruption is the use of your public office for private gain, and if you can pinpoint it, then pinpoint it. Don't say this person corrupt or that person corrupt. No, that's not how it works. It doesn't work that way at all. Everybody, if you accuse them, each person has a right. It's something called due process. It's natural justice, to come and say corruption and you hang up your phone and go, that's not how we want to build a country. We need development in the country, and we must develop not only the infrastructure, but we must develop our own selves, our minds, and our self-actualization. These are the things we need to do. Let's be rational in terms of what we are doing. It's 9:39. It's 21 before the 10 o'clock hour. I raised the issue tonight as my thesis, snakes in the government. And you may ask why. Why do I say so? Well, I chose the title of my thesis tonight, as I mentioned before, and this is for those of you who are just joining me. I chose the title of my thesis just to warn you, my viewers and my listeners, that there are hidden dangers in the path on which the current administration is taking us as a people, and by extension, as a country of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'll get back to that. Let's go to the lines. Thank you for holding. Caller, you're live.
Patrick, good night.
My brother, good night.
How are you, my brother?
I am peaceful, Jam Down. Yourself?
Patrick, we have too much snake in this Twin Island here. True. I think it's Nevis. Too much. That first lady who called, she's a big snake. Don't take her name there. Them didn't bring nothing to the table. She used to go get money from the people, you know. And all of a sudden, she just turned like purple wine, like where them Guyanese drink a kill themselves. Too much cookedness, and I don't understand. But anyway, Patrick, an old man asked me to tell you to continue the good work, because down there in Old Wood Bend, where one of your constituents lost his life, he can't forget that until when he dead. Go to the great beyond. And he asked me to congratulate you and tell you that he respects you, because you, along with the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, set the bar very high in this country. And they got to jump over that. Now, I listened to the press conference today. They were going on. These journalists, you look like they don't God just to show the name. These journalists, they don't go to represent the masses of the people, you know, and ask sensible questions, you know. I'm looking for one or two of them to raise the important issue to the Prime Minister and ask him why that lady end up in the UN. I don't know when they come to the town hall whenever this kind of thing, journalists only. These journalists should be ashamed of themselves. And let me asking the Prime Minister then. These people we work for to represent us internationally and locally and regionally. And when they go in the press conference, they make the conference so foolish. Now they want to talk at it. They come today, you know. That is have a good night. I glad I come over Moonlight and ask a guy, Dr. Kuba ask a guy. See? Because they say the boy patches. Have a good night.
Have a good night, my dear brother. Jam Down, always straight and to the point. It's now 17 before the 10 o'clock hour. We're taking your calls. The numbers are 663-6672 and 646-829-6672. I was going to say, but let me get back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Yeah, for turning up greetings to the night of joy and happiness. Brother Practice, how you doing? How is the night going forward?
Peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
Yeah, man, I just feel relaxed and listening to your program very formally and hearing how the movement is going forward as a nation. Now, sometimes I just looking back at things that rally between the context of our 39 years of independence, as they stated. And I put in that bracket form, as they stated. We are here saying, over those 39 years, because why I'm bringing it like this here to you, Brother Practice, you know that Friday the 14th gone, I heard the first caller make some remarks pertaining to certain things was stated on the airwave. And I would like to cry for it strongly and without any fear or favor. My elder, Brother Zambo Noel Heath, was gunned down on the 14th of October, Friday of the 2022. Well, 2011 was a Friday when he get gunned down. You see? So we're watching the mark of what is established within those years of that date. Now, giving thanks that he was very instrumental in my life as a Rasta, and knowing that he was able to bring to my meditation as a Rastafari, I will not hinder or fear to speak of what he has done within the Rastafari community for what I know of. I can't speak of everything because only what I could speak of is what I see within my eyes and behind my head. And I realized when I made the emphasis about the elder passing and of that 11 years ago, the Virgin make a statement and I don't want to go down the road. I'm not going to go down the road. But I'm just putting this into context. In 39 years of our independence now, the PAM party had formulated a discussion just Friday of that same 14th of October. Just gone. I went to it. I went kind of late too. But I do catch a little piece of the discussion that was outlined in that format, what the PAM party formulated for that day in the evening. And I'm going to go just shortly. They had it, the first of our Prime Minister of the Federation of Sinkers and Nevis, the Right Honorable Kennedy Francis Simmons, and we can consider as the first only living national hero. And then he had the former Deputy Prime Minister, representative of number 5, Sean Richard, and he had Mr. Warner as a doctor, and then he had the Virgin Noel from Connery area. And the moderator was Lavon Kane. Now, I would like to put it in full form. The discussion is very formulative. I'm very glad I went there because I catch some of the gist in what we need to do as a people. And in 39 years, you want to tell me we still don't understand how to move in the aspect of true identity as an independent nation, true standard of our people approach to social and economical well-being around here. Because there's so much money in Sinkers and Nevis that we can feed every one of our people without even having any stumble. But because of the kind of economical system we are placed within and the structure that we had formulated from the colonial powers, we realize we still have the kind of mantra of the colonial system limited in the mind of our political parties, even in the church and state system that the Christian people them uphold with their petty differences. Now it's time now we wake up at hours that these petty differences need to move away from our standard of our development. If we don't see these things move, we'll have a conflict of interest amongst our table, and we don't need that. Okay. It's time now to educate the young ones then. Serious time. Okay. If we don't do that, no problem. You need to ask a question?
No, I want to take another call, but just wrap.
Well, because I realize it's time now we start putting strong emphasis on social and economical, political emphasis of rising the people together, just like how the political parties, right? Yeah. The masses rise. That's all we need to know. And we ain't saying we're looking to be rich. It's equality and justice stands for one and all. Don't care who big and don't care who small. We know that evil system, that wicked, racist in St. England, that don't have a constitution, giving us constitution to put us as governors. We are really backwards. Bless the Lord.
Thank you, my brother. I have this email reads, when Sean said he called the Commissioner of Police and asked him to take his name out of a police report, it reminded me when the first Prime Minister called the late Justice Mitchell in his office at the High Court, which was temporarily hosted at the police training school, and asked the judge to give a decision in a certain case favorable to him. The judge was so infuriated and gave him some choice words on the phone in the presence of a number of us lawyers. That is what the commissioner should have told Sean. Don't you know better than that? And hung up the phone on him, reads this email. This other email reads, Patches, good night. Dr. Harris's BHS is a big school with a lots of features in it. That is a modern school. If they put the Bastille High School back on the original land, will it be the same size? If not, then tell them to leave it where Dr. Harris planned it to be, reads that email. This other email reads, give me a second there, caller. What kind of journalism, what kind of journalists, beg your pardon, reporters we have? You mean nobody asks about the new prison and the houses and the Chinese woman at the United Nations? These journalists need to stop being afraid and ask questions, not dolly house questions. Read this other email. And this final email reads, Patches, please remind Dr. Jew that investors stayed away from St. Kitts because the former Prime Minister was blackmailing the country, reads this email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller?
Patches.
Yes, my brother.
Patches.
Yes, Jam Down.
This is Jam Down again. Wherever parents you be tonight, think it's Nevis Prime Minister. He must clear the ear on that lady from China. Because I ain't gonna believe him. Not gonna believe him. The honorable man is a young Prime Minister. Clear the ear. He's a big talk on thinking. I mean, the Taiwanese has done so much. And we ain't carry one of them. But you let a man carry a Chinese man up there because he ain't his good friend? Come on! You're in charge! Who in charge of the electricity? Congress, no Congress?
Yes, he's a minister, yes. Energy, yeah.
Congress, this is jam down. To get scallop, chop, and go down there and cut down that palm tree down there right in front of the Malaho. Otherwise, anybody that can fall on, remember, I am call big time. Please to cut it down, we're moving hard into the tourist season. For heaven's sake, I ain't driving there with I can't see. I can't move like an Africa here, you know. It's terrible. Because I watch the top drop off, you know, and it meets a woman coming from just come out the sidewalk by sports zone. The lady's so frightened. She runs down on the opposite side where one of them the park. So frightened. I don't understand what's going on. People trying to be malicious. They're supporting the government. And these things that nobody gonna tell these guys to try and do. This was they're trying to be vicious with people. But have a good night. This is John Noel here, and I will speak here.
Okay, my brother, thanks a lot for your input. As this email reads, good night. I heard the PM name people who in his mind was victimized by Team Unity. Wow. It was the first time that victimization took place. Is he, AG, gonna investigate 10 man in one for the incident that took place in London? Reads this email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller. Are you there, caller? Hello, caller? Okay, I think we have, in fact, lost that caller. It's now 6 before the 10 o'clock hour. I'll perhaps take a few more calls before I wrap tonight. Perhaps take 2 more calls, but you may have joined me late. And My thesis was entitled tonight, Snakes in the Government. And from an academic perspective, I use the title as a metaphor for hidden dangers. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller?
Yes, Patrick.
Yeah, I'll give
Patrick, when you were in government, I was one of the first person advocate that we get traffic lights. And indirectly, I was so-called, I don't want to use this common word, but criticized. I was informing the government it is time for St. Kitts to step up to traffic lights because Little Anguilla has traffic lights. So what I want me to do, come out and say, Patrick, you ain't doing nothing. We need traffic light. That is not the way to do it. You do things constructively and you get things done. Patrick, you have a good night, brother. You're going good. Keep it up.
Have a good night.
We miss you and we're glad you come back.
Thank you, my brother. Thanks a lot for your intervention as well, as usual. As we wind down tonight's programming, perhaps I'll take my final call if it comes in the next couple of seconds. If that call comes in the next couple of seconds, I'll make it my final call. But as I was saying, for those who joined me late, the caption of my thesis tonight, the title was, still is, Snakes in the Government. And I use the title as a metaphor for hidden dangers. I will take this and make this my final call for the night. Caller, you live. Hello, caller?
Mr. Liburd?
Yes, good night.
You can hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, the best prime minister did not do nothing for them. So if they want the Jew, why come in a new program to say all them kind of confusion? Know them when they come, you don't know the number. But that's not a start talk. You're entertaining them. So you want to lose us for them. You want to lose us for them. Politics the call tonight. And let us stop calling my name. See you. Have a good night.
That's the way we're going to end the calls tonight. But as I said, we entertain everyone. We don't discriminate on straight talk. Everyone has a view. And we entertain those views. I appreciate what you're saying, but please, I want you as well to entertain the views. But academically put, I was saying, I use the title as a metaphor for hidden dangers to alert the new captain of the ship of state, our new prime minister, that when he's approaching the shore, he must make himself aware of the submerged rocks that could possibly wreck the ship. I say so because in the past, our country's risk of exposure to loss caused by certain events would have been manifested differently. The collection of risks to which I refer tonight included the political, social, economic, and environmental risks. In respect to the latter, in the past, chances of our exposure would have been minimal. But today, climate change has dialed up the possibilities of disaster. Climate variability has brought with it the 200-year cycle storm that has devastated our infrastructure. To say that we have not built resilience, as was mentioned today at the press conference by the former Prime Minister, is so disingenuous. Because in fact we built resilience in the coastal areas in terms of coastal revetment. And how can we ever forget what we did at the Old Road Bay? That's building resilience. Never again will soil slippage impede the traffic flow. Remember one year it was disconnected from the Island Main Road network. Never again will a rock fall from the mountain and kill anyone who was commuting on that stretch of the Island Main Road. As extreme rainstorms become more prevalent, become more common, we are vulnerable to flooding, and it only takes one single event that can destroy our economy. Sea level rise is not only damaging our coastal areas, but it is also causing saltwater intrusion into our coastal aquifers. From an economic perspective, globalization has opened the process of cross-border exchange and free flow of goods, services, and people between our different countries of the world. And look what it has done here in St. Kitts and Nevis. No matter how it is being spun, the small business efforts started under the Douglas Labour administration and failed. So too will the efforts of the Jew Labour administration fail. So the new minister and my friend Samuel, the Honorable Samuel Doggins, is dreaming. Because the vast majority of small businesses, our small mom and pop shops, I refer to them as, have been replaced in our rural communities in particular by the Chinese. Over time, our mom and pop shops have literally gone out of business. They no longer exist. That's the reality. The few that remain have either become invisible or they have just got lost. Look at what's happening in Newtown. So my thesis tonight also expose the snakes in government who are vicious enemies of the people and who are lurking beneath the surface. An election has come and gone, and we all anticipated a feeling of safety and comfort and a hope of rejuvenation. We therefore let down our guard and totally expose ourselves. The last thing we expected was that there were also poisonous snakes nearby. Little that we knew that the nests where these snakes are being incubated and nurtured are within the Jew Labour administration and the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. How could the representative of East Bastille, after being assigned to the important Ministry of Human Settlement, how could he retain an advisor who stubbornly denied shelter for 36 families in constituency number 1? He must be considered a poisonous snake in the Jew Labour administration. That advisor helped to manage the campaign of the former representative of constituency number 8 in 2010, 2015, and 2020 in the elections. He offered himself as a candidate for PAM in the 2022 election and was overlooked by Sean Richards. And I have a copy of a proposal that he submitted to help Talbot Bass, and his terms and conditions were as followed. He be paid $1.25 million. He be allocated 2 acres of land. He must be guaranteed a job on the PLP for 3 persons for 5 years. I have a copy of the proposal. But Talbot apparently dissed him. That's what he claimed. He then shared proprietary election information with the opposition. And just recently, he confided in my close friend that he voted for Labour. Is that justification to retain this snake in the government as an advisor? His colleague, I refer to as C squared, C times C, or 2 C's, is another snake in the government. She got a job at the JN France General Hospital. I don't know his daughter or whether she got a job, but I know the families on West Street and East Street were deprived of their houses, yet the snake in the government is being retained as an advisor. Now, most people do not like what happened in our country in 2022. Never in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis was there a palace coup. We experienced a terrible attack on our democracy. We have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we have all survived. Let us, my people, there are those people, those persons that do not have the best interests of our country at heart. They should not be expected to behave in the favor or in a particular way. We must understand that the behavior and legislation come from the evil in the hearts and minds of the current political leaders. Our experience for the past 7 years have taught us a lesson that in the future we cannot and must not tolerate anyone who does not have a patriotic devotion to develop our country. We must together as a people bound together and say, this shall never stand. With respect to our future, we must have diligent awareness of anyone who seeks national political positions. We must examine them, and we must respond to the snakes in the government with legal force and intolerance. My people, as I wind down tonight, we looked to the party in office for a lifeline to be thrown at us, but that did not happen. In closing, I will end just like I started. Recall that I said that the title of my thesis tonight was used as a metaphor for hidden dangers, to alert our new Prime Minister and to encourage him to chart his course around the unpredictable climate, submerged rocks, coral reefs, inflation, and the list goes on. And if he don't, he could wreck the ship of state. These are what I refer to as the snakes in government. As a matter of fact, there are other snakes in the government as well that we can speak about. But there are snakes all over in cabinet, in government departments, in corporations and government companies. My family, as we look forward to handling the inflation, food, energy and water, are hidden dangers and snakes in the government. My people, many questions have derived. Important questions I ask as I leave you. What are the plans of the Jew Labour administration to get gas prices down? What are the plans of the Jew Labour administration to get food prices down? Another snake in the government is in the AG's office, who wants to publicly embarrass people. That's a threat to our democracy. Due process is a requirement in law, that legal matters must be resolved according to established rules and principles, and individuals must be treated fairly. We all listened to the press conference today, and we got nothing from it. Someone behaved as if he was punch drunk. My people, I raise the issue about the labor regime and the policy decision it has taken. But this is another hidden danger, and they are not exhaustive. Suffice to add, there are snakes in the government. That's my story tonight, and I'm not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding my conversation tonight, and as always, I want to thank all the listeners. I want to thank the callers, those of you who joined me and viewed on social media, Facebook and YouTube. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I'm Ian Liburd, and God's spare, we will connect for another edition of Straight Talk on Thursday at 8 p.m. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors that Straight Talk comes your way for another episode on Thursday. Until then, be good to yourselves and all whom you meet. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But you must believe. Bye-bye, my Straight Talk family. Good night, and keep moving on.